Hi, Church. Pastor Jeff here with another Trinity Check In. Today, I want to share with you a trick for figuring out what God is doing in your life. Now, it doesn't always work, but you'd be surprised just how often it does. And this is on my mind because I had a moment yesterday where I noticed this happening. Let me explain. Now, I'm hoping this video doesn't come off as an advertisement because I honestly don't intend it to. But this evening is Ignite. Ignite, when we have a children's Christmas musical rehearsal, we have confirmation going on, choir a little bit later, and we have some classes that happen in the midst of it all and other activities you can be a part of. We have a group that's doing some crafty things, building the sets for the musical. We have pub theology, but we also have a new class this year called Pastor Jeff Uses His Doctorate. And the idea behind it is to do a class for people who want to go deeper or for people who want me to bring it. If you don't know it, I got my doctorate shortly before moving to Lincoln. There is a seminary level class that I teach every other year. I adjunct, but I'm quite literally a seminary professor. So for people who want a little bit more, this is a chance for that. But it's also a chance for me to flex that muscle because it's good for me. Okay, so it's starting tonight. And for the first week, I am going to share my research. These black books here in the back, that's actually let's call it a dissertation. My school actually used a different word, but just to communicate, we'll call it a dissertation. It's the biggest thing I've ever done, at least in a sense of writing or research or academics. I put a lot of myself into it, and I think came up with some pretty useful insights that I'm still, to this day, trying to figure out how best to spread into the world, because I believe that what I researched could help a lot of people. And that is the topic of tonight's class. I'm going to share my research. One of my highest ideals is that something shouldn't seem difficult. If you truly understand something, you can explain it to a child. Now, those coming to my class tonight aren't children, but at the same time, you get my point. My goal is to say things simply. To prepare for the class tonight, I pulled out this book again. The Handbook of Hope. Did you know that hope came with a handbook? Who knew? It could have saved a lot of effort. But I started seeing my highlights from back when I was working on my dissertation. I pulled out a couple of the other books and I kind of went back into the mode a little bit. And it felt so good. When I was actually writing it, I had a few moments where I asked myself, am I doing the right thing as a pastor? Am I actually called to be a teacher? And the answer was quite clear. No, I am a pastor at heart. That is who I am, and I will always be a pastor. But I do love engaging the world in this way. And I think I've been neglecting it lately. That's what I realized yesterday. So to get back into it, to get back into my research, to put the pieces together, to realize that there's going to be people listening this evening and I'd better have my act together, and to get those pieces written down again, it felt more than just good. Now, there are a lot of things that feel good. Maybe you pick up an old hobby that you haven't done for a while, and there is enjoyment, certainly. But there are some things we do in life that are life-giving. Maybe it's if you haven't spent time with your kids in a while and an activity just clicks where everybody is there and present at the same time, and you realize how good it is to have a family. That's one example. Or maybe it's an old friend that you call up. Or maybe you enjoy reading but haven't in a while, and you find a good book and you begin to read it, and it's more than just good, it's life-giving. Or maybe it's cooking or something like that. It's different or nature. That's another very good example. What I want to talk about today is that life-giving bit. When something is more than just good, it's something that you find life in. That is the trick to finding what God is doing in your life. Look for the thing that feels life-giving. Now, if you want me to pull out the Doctorate a little bit here, there's actually one of the great Christian historical figures, Saint Ignatius, put together spiritual exercises, and his word for it is consolation. You ever heard the word desolation? This is the opposite. This is the good side of desolation, consolation. To look for that feeling of what gives you life, what gives you the opposite of death, because that's where God is. We can use it to find where God is leading us in life and in the world. We can look where it is that we ought to spend more time. Now, I don't have any more time to give, but having had a life-giving experience yesterday, I think I need to look around and figure out how I might. Perhaps God is doing something there. Perhaps it's time for my research to go a little bit wider and to be shared with more people. Again, I'm repeating myself now, but I'm going to say it again because it really does matter. Look for what in your life gives you that feeling of life. And if you can't identify it right away, maybe you need to spend a little time in silence. Maybe you need to quiet the clatter that's in your mind and in your heart in order to see it. Or maybe you need to explore and try a few things to look for it. But I will guarantee it's there. God is always there. Talking with a friend can help you find it too. But look for it, because God is always active in our lives. And when we find that thing that God is doing, that thing to which God is calling us in this particular moment, that matters differently and it matters deeply. And I hope you find yours soon. And I hope you'll tell me what it is that gives you life, because I love hearing the stories too. All right. If you're coming to Pastor Jeff Uses His Doctorate tonight, buckle up. I made a sheet. I'll share it with you tonight and we'll talk through it. And the rest of you will continue this Sunday with the Do Unto Others series. This Sunday is humility, another very good topic, and I think a very important one. Humility does not mean what most people think it does. It's not just about knocking yourself down a peg. Sometimes it's building yourself up, or at least finding the areas in which you need which. So we'll do that Sunday, and then Sunday evening, of course, is Trunk or Treat. Things are gearing up rapidly around here. It is going to be a fantastic time, and I can't wait to see you all at all of it. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if those were the next things that were life-giving for many of us. I'll see you soon, church.